The first thing that I like is the looks. Now, I know that some of you might find the styling on the GV60 to be a little bit strange, but overall, I think it's a pretty cool, sporty looking EV. It kind of has that lifted type hatchback appearance that I feel like, you know, Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis are going for with a lot of their vehicles. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people that have seen this have said to me that it just, you know, kind of looks like what a vehicle from the future might look like, but obviously kind of more miniature, right? And well, that leads me to the first point that I don't like, and that is certain parts of the looks. So although I like the overall styling of the vehicle, there are some things that I think are kind of funky. So first off, the fake grille here at the bottom, again, this is an EV, so like, what the heck's the point? Again, some of you might like that. Now, I'm still kind of torn on the split light design, but overall, I think that is pretty cool. And then something that I always find weird is when automakers do this, where they have fender flares that are just really kind of like small. Why not just have the bodywork come down instead of doing a fender flare? That's also kind of strange. And then the last thing is the little spoiler here on the back. It actually blocks your visibility out of the rear window just a little bit and kind of looks funky. Now, the second thing that I like is the overall interior. Popping inside of the GV60, this is definitely a beautiful interior, especially when you compare this to a Tesla. I mean, fit and finish, top-notch material use, also top-notch design. I mean, this interior just looks so special. Instead of being like plain and bland, again, like with the Tesla, like you don't get anything like this. And even look at the dash there, and you got like the little crystal shifter, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, I feel like they did a good job with the overall interior design. However, the second thing that I don't like is certain interior bits. So this is getting kind of nitpicky, but I don't understand why automakers do stuff like this. So you can see nice leather here. You can actually like see me physically pressing it in. I'm pretty sure this though is like plastic down below. And then same thing here on the dash. It's in like here at the bottom, like this, I can kind of press in. So you're like, you know, okay, that's real. But then this right here, every single automaker does it. But I feel like, you know, Genesis is trying to set themselves apart. So that is something they could do to set themselves apart. And then aside from that, there's like random switches that are plasticky, which is weird because you've got like really nice finishes on all of these and then just like plastic. So again, overall interior is great. There are just some bits that are strange. And then also the glove box, the fact that it like pops out like a file cabinet, like look at this. I mean, some of you might like that, but so strange. The third thing that I like is the acceleration. Now we're actually popping inside to talk about this because you guys can see on the steering wheel, we got that boost function right there. So this normally has like just over 400 horsepower, but when you press the boost button, it jumps it up to like almost 500 horsepower. And just like most electric vehicles, having instant power and instant torque means it's quick, especially with the boost function. Boost function just adds a level of excitement because you're like boost and then you like go way faster than what it normally accelerates at. And I don't know, it makes it exciting. And so just like most EVs, it's fast, but because this is a pretty small EV, it feels like especially quick and nimble. However, the third thing that I do not like is the size. Now, when it comes to driving dynamics, being the size that this is means that this drives exceptionally well when it comes to like sporty, fun driving. And they've done a really good job with the suspension to make it comfortable. However, proportions on this are kind of funky. I feel like the styling would actually look better if it was on a slightly larger vehicle. It kind of looks like one of those like mini cars where they like smush it together, if that makes sense. I mean, you guys can kind of see from the side view. Sorry about my horrible camera work, but kind of has that like smush vehicle feel. Now, despite the fact that it does have a small size, the interior room is not actually all that bad, but you know, if you're actually going to have a family and car seats and everything, this is not going to be the most practical. I think this is great if you're a family of like 3, but anything more than that, I mean, this is not horrible, but just now that I have a baby, I kind of know how much stuff you got to take around when you go places. So I just wish it was a little bit bigger, but you know, Genesis will release a larger EV in the near future. So this point, I guess, doesn't really matter. The fourth thing that I like is the features. Starting off here with the key fob, we've got stuff like self-park, remote start, that's for the charging. And then you got your like unlock, lock, opening for the hatch, you know, that kind of stuff. Pop-out door handles. And this also has the eye scan technology where you can turn yourself into the key. And then, you know, you've got nice stuff like memory seats, blind spot monitoring, you know, that's pretty standard, but we have massaging seats with this as well. And then this has pretty good self-driving where you have adaptive cruise control with steering assist. And then some stuff I talked about earlier, like the boost function, that's a pretty cool feature. And let's actually start it up. You've got this cool, crazy screen set up right here. And then I love the how the climate control system works. Like just like using it overall is really easy. And then, you know, heated and cooled seats, wireless phone charging pad. You've got this for the rear passengers. Like there's just a ton of stuff. And this has, as you can see, a big sunroof as well. And so overall, I mean, it's just like absolutely loaded. And this is your fingerprint scanner, by the way, if you guys are wondering. And then also, like, we've got this crazy, if it'll do it, we got this crazy 360 camera system, which is another thing. So just like, I could go on forever, but there's just so many cool features to this car. Now, the number 4 thing that I don't like is the range. So we're actually gonna pop in again so I can really make this point. This is supposed to get like 200 and something miles of range. Let's actually look at the window sticker right here. 235 miles of range, okay? Now I've got an 79% charge right there. As you can see, 158 miles of range. And that's because it's cold outside. So yeah, kind of frustrating. But yeah, this needs to have more range. So like at this point, I've tested several EVs. 200 miles is not enough. 300 miles is kind of getting to be enough. I think that most EVs, especially if it's a luxury EV like this, because it's a Genesis, 400 miles needs to be like the bare minimum amount of range for the car to actually make sense for most people. The 5th thing that I like is the price. So this has equipped stickers for just under $70,000, which is a lot of money, but that's pretty similar in price to a Tesla Model Y Performance. And I would go out and say that this is better than the Tesla Model Y in every single aspect, except for 2, which are important to EVs. But I think it looks better. The interior is way nicer. Fit and finish is way better. It's way more exciting to drive. Like, again, everything is better. The only 2 downsides, range obviously is not as good. And then you don't have the charging infrastructure that Tesla has with this Genesis. And so those are 2 very important things. And those are 2 things that would definitely sway a lot of people to buy the Tesla over the Genesis. But if you want a more exciting, better build quality, just better overall vehicle, then the GV60 gives that to you at a price that is not more expensive than the Tesla, which is good. Now, the 5th and final thing that I do not like is the charging with this car. Now, obviously, I just mentioned that with Genesis, you do not get Tesla's charging infrastructure, which is very important for EVs because the charging infrastructure we have for non-Tesla cars is absolute garbage. It just works sometimes, but doesn't work most of the time. And then on top of that, I have had this car for almost a week at this point, and I have not been able to get the car to charge whatsoever, pretty much. I think I've gotten like 10% increase in charge over the course of me having this. And yes, I do have 110s, but the problem is I plugged the car in to charge, and then after charging for maybe a few hours, it just decides that it doesn't want to charge anymore. I don't know why that's happening. Like, there's nothing wrong with my outlets because I have tested a bunch of other EVs on top of testing this out, and they have all charged at my house, obviously at a slow rate, but they don't stop charging. So I don't know if it's because this is like a pre-production car or something, but it seems like it has issues with continuing to charge, which if I was actually owning this and driving this on a daily basis, that would be extremely frustrating. Like, oh, hey, boss man, I can't come to work today because my electric car didn't charge. So overall, I think that the new Genesis GV60 is a really solid EV. And, you know, as a Tesla competitor, I think it does a pretty good job, except on the 2 points that I mentioned. Doesn't have Tesla's charging infrastructure, obviously. And then on top of that, the range. Regular automakers need to understand that range is really important with EVs. You okay there, little outdoor cat? This cat just walked up to me and is meowing at me. But anyways, they need to realize that until they compete with Tesla on every single front, charging infrastructure and range, people are still going to keep buying Teslas. And so, like, I think this thing is so cool. And like I said, it's better than Tesla in every single aspect, except for 2 things that are super important to an EV. Let me know what you guys think about the new GV60. That's it.